Okay, I think we're live now. I was having so many issues going live this morning. I'm like, what's happening? Pretty sure I need to go live right now. I don't know what's going on with Facebook this morning, or my phone, or something. I don't know. But I'm here now, finally, because I don't know what that was about. All right, so I'm just gonna gather myself because I get pissed off when I can't go live when I'm like trying. I'm like, what is happening here? What the fuck is happening? All right, I made it. Okay, let me share this. As always, we have the solar plexus consciousness today, where we're taking back our power, right? So when we feel powerless, we get angry, just like what I was experiencing. Really angry. I'm like, what the hell? This is solar plexus consciousness. Very aware of that. Trippy morning. Okay, maybe it's not just me. Hi, Karen. Hi, Elizabeth. Okay, I will concentrate and share this, and then we shall jump right into it, because, oh my goodness. Oh dear. Okay. Hello! Yes, lots of beautiful people here. Beautiful souls. Okay, one more. Got it. Okay, so now just bring these comments up here, and then we'll be good to go, finally. It's gonna come up. I don't know why this is going really slow this morning. All right, okay, here we go. I think we got it sorted, because goodness me. Hello, beautiful people. Okay, I'm glad it wasn't just me this morning. Something in the air this morning. That's good to know. I'm like, what's happening? Okay. So here we are, arriving at the solar plexus consciousness. Now, I shared a post yesterday tapping into the solar plexus, and I feel called to start by reading that out. So the more you align to your truth, the more you align to your solar plexus. Now, one might think that the throat chakra is your truth, and it is. This is speaking your truth, and as I always say, it's also living your truth, right? But when we are also in our truth, that's solar plexus, yeah? We're aligning to our truth at our solar plexus. The more you empower yourself by doing what is right for you, even when it goes against all current systems on the planet here, you trust and do it anyway. Yes, you may need to walk away from people and situations that are not aligned anymore. Yes, you may feel grief about leaving situations or people leaving you that you never thought would, or that you've ended up in situations you didn't think you would be in at this time of your life. What is this called? It's called aligning. So if there was a word for solar plexus, you could say it's alignment. However, you could also say it's empowerment, because we are taking back our power. So we're empowering ourselves to be able to align to our truth, to trust our truth, and to really stand in that. So at our solar plexus, it's very much around confidence in self, trust in self, empowering yourself with empowering choices, being able to have that, like the solar plexus is yellow, right? It's yellow like the sun. And so it's our power center. Yes, if you can imagine like a big yellow sun at your solar plexus, that is what your solar plexus is, and it powers up all of your other chakras. So in the light field yoga for the solar plexus that I teach, the solar plexus, it's like a, I want to say like a switch, it's like a power pole, and there's a power pole of solar plexus energy that goes up through the rest of your chakras, up to the top of your head, and then also down through the center to your base chakra. And this literally gives power to all of your other chakras. So If you are like feeling low or depressed or just feeling out of whack, like it's very solar plexus energy. It's almost like the power's gone out. Yeah. So it's like, what are those things that empower you, that bring back your personal power, right? What are those things that you can do to turn on the light, to turn on your switch, right? What are those empowering things that you can do? So this might look like, you know, like all the self-care things, all the things that brings your heart alive, all those things that brings joy to your life. So the next chakra down is the sacral chakra. That is the seat of our joy, right? At the heart, we are coming into our joy and remembering, you know, what lights our heart up, our passions, where, you know, what's follow your heart, all those things, right? And then at the sacral chakra, it's very much, you know, where the seat of our joy is. So at the solar plexus, if the light has gone out, it's very much around, well, okay, what are those things that are going to bring the light back? Yeah, so you might be kind of like spiraling into the darkness, and it's like empowering yourself. So it's like the disempowering in a way. It's empowering yourself through choices that, you know, turn your light back on. So what are those things that bring your heart alive? What are those things that bring you that deep-seated joy? And when I talk about deep-seated joy, I mean like the contentment. So like the Buddha belly contentment. Yeah, it's in the sacral chakra. It's like that satiated contentment. Yeah. So that's what we're really looking for at the solar plexus. So I'll just bring these comments back up. So, hey, beautiful. There's more people joining us. Welcome. So the solar plexus is very much in that beautiful quote that says, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change, and the courage to change, to accept the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. I want to say at the solar plexus, it's very much about letting go of control, letting go of trying to control the situation, letting go of trying to control the outcome, and doing only the things that deeply come into, that only bring you into alignment, right? So Alina says, I was depressed today. Yeah, you know what? I woke up so depressed and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Like I went to the gym yesterday. I was like in the garden yesterday. I was doing all these things. And I was like, why am I depressed this morning? Like it was weird, right? And I was like in the shower. Of course, I get all these revelations in the shower. And I was like, oh, yes. So I live through what I teach. I live through what I teach. So when we talk about, so I'm living through it, right? So I can teach it. It's always the way. I'm like, oh, for goodness sake. So when you've been aligning to something, so a relationship, a way of teaching, like a consciousness, a spirituality, a system that you've been following, a mentor, like a personal relationship or a career, and you've been aligning to that, you've been in that, yeah? And you're like, yeah, this is what we're doing, right? And you're doing your life and you're all empowered. You're just doing who you're doing, right? You're doing your thing, right? Doing your thing around just following what feels right? And you're doing your thing. You might, like I said, you might be aligning to a system or a consciousness or a religious structure or like whatever you're doing, right? Career, relationship, like could be an intimate partner relationship. When that system crashes, when that is no longer in alignment, this is big in the solar plexus. Now remember, we're 2 chakras away, 1, technically 2, from the base chakra. And your base chakra is life purpose. As we've been traveling down the chakras, if there is something that is not in alignment with your life purpose, it will leave your system by the time we get there. At the solar plexus, usually heart, possibly, because at the heart, it's like all these realizations around where's me gone, right? Where's my joy gone? At the solar plexus, what lights up, what becomes conscious, the light turning on, you suddenly have revelations, the light, right, coming out of the depression, is the revelation that actually that's not in alignment with me anymore. Now, whether you leave that situation or that situation leaves you, it's the universe and your soul going, that's not in alignment with your highest destiny. that is not in alignment with who you are meant to be. That is not in alignment with your life purpose. And if you really get deep into the truth of it, you will probably honestly see, yeah, I want to say I wasn't in alignment. They're not quite the right words. We start to get honest, real, and truthful around, yeah, there were things that were in alignment, but if I look at 100%, no. Now, some people might go, oh, you have to compromise in relationship and you have to do this. And I'm like, you can have 100% alignment in your life. You can, but it's a choice. Not many people make that full dedicated choice. Well, there is. It's the 1% and the 1%. To have 100% in alignment. So the depression, and Amy says with the grief, she's been feeling lots of grief, and Sian says spot on with what's been happening in my life these last few days, yes. So this depression is, I want to say you waking up, or I want to say it's the fallout. It's the fallout from what's not in alignment anymore. Now, when I always talk about you're not lost, you're recalibrating, and when we go through any change, right? Any change, whether we're unsubscribing from a belief system, we're removing ourselves from a relationship, or a relationship removes itself, or we're changing careers, or we're moving house, it triggers the grief process. And that's how we cope with change. But we're taught to suppress grief in our society. So a lot of people have a backlog of grief, let alone all the other issues that come from suppressing such. Now, when we look at the depression at this point in the solar plexus, it is literally the fallout from what you were aligning to that is no longer in alignment with the path that you need to travel for your soul's destiny. As I always say, we're never not in alignment, like, because we needed to walk on that path. We needed to experience that relationship. We needed to do whatever we needed to do for whatever period of time. But it gets, when we hit the solar plexus, we're usually like, it's like we become clear of who we are, right? We've awakened to a whole new paradigm. We're seeing the truth. We're opening to all this beautiful feminine energy and really allowing ourselves to tap into the multidimensional self and universe that we are. We're starting to speak our truth, but live it, so it opens our heart so we can follow our heart's desires. And at that point, at the solar plexus, we don't need to follow other people's system. This is why I teach, and I'm so damn passionate about, trust your intuition. This is my signature course. We're starting in just under 3 hours. Yeah, just under 3 hours from now. So when I jump off this, we're diving into the first live workshop that we're carrying over for the next 12 weeks. So there's still time to join us. That's why Trust Intuition called so loudly. Exactly, right? This isn't about following anyone else's system on the planet. This is about trusting your intuition enough to birth you here. Not many people do that. They follow one system or another. And like I said, it's not that we don't need to for a time or enough in trust intuition to then trust intuition enough. Because a lot of people think that they trust their intuition, but you'll see that they're not living their intuition. They might trust it and go, yeah, I'm fully connected and trust, but it's like, but are you fully living your unique life purpose? Have you birthed that on the planet? That comes from the full dedication of trusting your intuition. And most people usually don't, because it's a system that's not on the planet yet. Not just trust intuition, your system, your purpose. You have to have the confidence in self, solar plexus. You have to feel empowered enough. You have to not get knocked by other people's comments enough. You have to know what to do with those empowering and disempowering conversations to be able to hold your ground, stand your truth, and speak your truth. It's kind of pretty prevalent in today's society, given the current circumstances of society, right? A lot of people are following, right? And they'll see some people walking around without masks, and you can see it in the crowds. You can see the ones that are completely like, why aren't you wearing a mask? And then you can see other people going, oh, don't we have to? Like, you can see it. They just don't have the confidence, the trust and the skills in themselves, or have ever been around people like that, to be able to anchor that and hold that. Your higher self anchors at your solar plexus. Now, when we've been in abusive situations or negative situations or situations in our life where we have felt overpowered, and 99.9% of people have felt overpowered as a child. And that is how we've stayed. Unless we've done a lot of work to be able to shift all those disempowering moments and be able to come into the full power of ourselves. Not in an overpowering way, but in a balanced, integrated way. Yeah? So, the confidence in trusting your intuition, really comes into being able to hold your ground and hold that balance. But also, I want to say to stand up. I want to say to stand up to the bullies. Now, what I mean by this is, no, if you're in a dangerous domestic violence or other situation, get the fuck out of there, right? First thing is safety. But it's being able to stand up and hold your ground. It's being able to voice your truth in a way that is not disempowering to others, but being able to hold your ground and able to hold that, what's the word? Like, it's like a confidence in self. It's a trust in self. It's a you standing in your truth. So as I said at the throat, we're speaking it, but we're living it. And to live it, we need to get the grief out of our heart. We need to allow our heart to open and to heal, because an open heart enables you to help hold that truth. You know how they always say love is the most powerful thing on the planet? Love is the thing that transforms and dissolves all. That's what they talk about. An open heart. Some of you might have seen that that meme that goes around, well, I don't know if it's a meme, but it's like a diagram, and I think I've got it in this heart book. I don't think I showed it last week. You've probably seen it. I'm not sure who credits this, but the heart is one of the most powerful, so the heart is more powerful than the brain. I know it's bad front. The heart is about 100,000 times stronger electrically and up to 5,000 times stronger magnetically than the brain, right? That doesn't happen with a closed heart. Now you can see that heart vibration enables the solar plexus to really anchor in the higher self and able to power up and have that power to be able to hold that space. It's like the solar plexus gives the heart the confidence to be able to hold that vibration. The solar plexus gives the heart the confidence to open, to feel safe. Because when we're empowered, we feel safe. Would you agree? When we're disempowered, we don't feel safe. Yeah, we're scared the abuser's going to hit us again, for example. Yeah. So in my Crystalline Chakra activations, which even if you're coming in at the solar plexus week, the link is in the title of this live stream, or you can find it on my website. And the Crystalline Chakra activations there's 9 of them. So there's one each for each of the chakras as we go through these weeks. They're crystalline activations. So they're activating the crystalline geometric structure through each chakra. And I was showing that the crystalline activation enables like your chakra, for example, in your whole body to be able to hold that higher frequency. It creates like a container for the higher frequency to be housed in, if that makes sense. That's what I was showing. So the crystalline activations, you can still grab them. I would start at the solar plexus, and you can work your way down to sacral and base and integration, and then come back up through the crown, even if you're in this journey now, like just joining us now. Some of you bought the crystalline chakra activations at the start and have been working through them as we go through the weeks. Now, the reason I brought that up is because, as I was talking about, the solar plexus gives the heart confidence to open, gives the heart confidence to feel safe to open, like to be able to hold that power center up, right? This, open heart, this holding that space, that communication, that understanding of how the solar plexus communicates with the heart, how the solar plexus supports the heart, and also heart solar plexus, as well. In the Crystalline Chakra activations, there is a diagnostic chart, and I go through each of the chakras, and so it gives you deep insight, right? And so we can see how, this is a big piece of trusting intuition and strengthening your intuition. So a lot of people have heard about, your clairvoyance is your third eye, and your claircognizance is your crown chakra, and your clairaudience is your ear chakra. Heart is our clairsentience. When we look at our chakras, they are literally spiritual organs as well. And when we can build a relationship and understand and know each of these chakras in depth, and this is why I teach all the different layers of the chakra consciousness. So we've got the free version, obviously here, that we go through in the weeks. You've got the crystalline activations. I've got a full course on each of these chakras, right? Because there's so much to learn about them. It's so deep. It's like you get lost down the rabbit hole in each one of them, right? Now, that understanding that your solar plexus gives your heart confidence to open, for example, is a really big deal when it comes into, standing in your truth, understanding in the face of adversity, real time, in real life, right? If you've built this strong connection with your chakras, with your organs, with yourself, etc., in those moments, it might switch on and it'll be like, oh, my heart. And you can do it while you're in the face of adversity. This is meditation real time. This is taking yoga off the mat. This is why we do it all in the first place, so we can go out and implement it. This is living your truth, right? This is when you're in the face of adversity and you're like, might be starting to freak out, and you're like, oh, and you just have that realization and that remembrance, and that power pole activates through your system and the heart opens and you're like, this is my truth. No. Do you know what I mean? And it's so subtle and so fast and so subconscious because you've built this relationship with these chakras, and you're able to empower yourself in the moment because you've been able to do this work. You understand, it's almost like you have two bodies in a way. You've got your physical body and you've got your higher self anchored that has all these power centers that you have a relationship with, that have their own level of consciousness, that have their own vibration that enables you to become whole, to hold yourself. Yeah? Okay. Oh, Cam says, I did the solar plexus crystalline meditation and wow, I needed it. I did it 3 times, an amazing experience. I was sitting between 3 trees and I had the best experience. Hummingbirds kept coming to me and all the birds and butterflies. Awesome. A ton of weight lifted off. It's so powerful, right? It's so powerful. The hummingbirds is the animal totem for the ear chakra consciousness too. That's interesting. Love that. Love that. Yeah, so Steve says, I'm on a Melbourne train, only people unmasked I can see are children, giving out lots of smiles. Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Taking back your power, and that's the confidence in yourself, right? So Leanne says, I've actually done something I normally wouldn't do. I submitted a poem to a competition. That's so exciting. This is trusting yourself, trusting your purpose, trusting your intuition, being able to have the confidence to put forth your gift, your skills. Yeah, that's unique to you. This is the thing about life purpose. It's not on the planet yet, and people are like, what's my life purpose? And I'm like, I don't know. Only you know that, right? I can give you all the tools. I can help guide you to create this beautiful container where you discover your life purpose, because no one on the planet, and this is the thing, nobody can tell you your life purpose. Nobody. But there's certain skills that enable a certain space to be created that enables you to really have the confidence, not just know your purpose, but the confidence to follow through and live that. Yeah, that's obviously what I do. in what we do and trust the intuition. Sean says, I need to go sign up now. Of course. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Steve says, that is earth surfing to me, living in truth as the waves of adversities arrives. Yes, exactly, right? Hi, Joy. So it's really coming into that, holding your ground, knowing who you are, the confidence in that, and especially in situations that take you out of your comfort zone, yeah? Okay, so solar plexus is in the middle of our stomach, in the middle of our back, well, not our stomach, it's just underneath our heart, so just below your sternum there. Our solar plexus is connected to our liver, our gallbladder, and our small intestines. Now, in the third eye chakra, the third eye is connected to the liver and the gallbladder as well. And so at the solar plexus, this is why when we talk about aligning to our truth, we're not just seeing it. It's like, this is where it starts to, I'm gonna say, hit reality. This is where it really is like, we can't live it. So if you are not trusting your intuition, because this is solar plexus, if you're not trusting your intuition, you might be getting intuitive nudges to be moving, to be moving house, maybe, or leaving a certain relationship. And if you don't heed that intuition, you might wake up at liver time in the middle of the night. So between, I think it's 1 and 3 a.m. is the liver time in TCM. Waking up. There's a really good one I like, Organic Olivia. I'm just trying to find. It's like, oh, my whole computer was reset. It's kind of interesting. I'm like, I didn't do that. Why has all my things been reset? You know when you're like, you've got your thing and it all just flows? Anyway. Okay, so 1 a.m. Oh, so pretty sure 1 a.m. was liver. Let me just double check. I know I've looked at this so many times. Oh, so 11 p.m. and 1 a.m. if you wake up around those times or you can't get to sleep, that's gallbladder. 1 a.m. and 3 a.m. is liver. Yes, just wanted to confirm. So if you're waking up between 1 a.m. and 3 a.m., it's your liver. And I know that when several years ago, when I was in a relationship, knew I had to leave, wasn't listening, it was like clockwork. And yeah, people might say, oh, your liver's overloaded and needs cleanse. Probably, right? But also a big piece about that is you're living out of alignment. Something is out of alignment. That's why there's so many pieces when we're looking at, that, for example, we're waking up in the middle of the night. What is that? Awesome to look at. So if you just type into Google TCM, which stands for Traditional Chinese Medicine, TCM, why am I waking up at a certain time of night? And you'll see there's all these different ones. Organic Olivia, I love her blog, always have. So it tells you, like, for example, the liver time is deep resting and dreaming, anger, frustration, and rage. So it's like you're angry at yourself. You might be angry at your partner or angry at them or angry at the situation, but actually you're angry at yourself because you know you had to leave there, or you know you would have left there, or you know you should leave there, but you can't. So I might just pop it in the comments, actually. I don't know who this lady is. I just found her website years ago and I just love it. Like, I just love her energy. You know when you can just feel people's energy online? She's one of these people. I just popped it in the comments there. Organic Olivia is the website, or blog. It's a blog, that one. So Leanne says, others say waking up between 3 and 5, you're in anger. So between 3 and 5 is grief. It's the lungs, yeah? And so if you're waking up between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m., you're full of grief. There's something that you're not grieving, or you're suppressing the grief. So say, for example, we know we need to leave a relationship, but we haven't left yet, we're not listening, we're not ready, whatever, right? It's no judgment. Sometimes we can be waking up between 3 and 5 a.m. because we're suppressing the grief that we know is about to come from leaving the situation, or there might be a situation that we simply haven't grieved yet from a relationship breakup, which, can go on for several months. People can suppress grief for a long time because our society is being taught that it's not okay. Okay, so so 3 and 5 a.m. is the grief, yeah. So yeah, so liver, gallbladder, small intestines as well. And yeah, explains why you keep getting up at that time. It's the grief. Yeah, exactly, right? And so sometimes we can like force ourselves to cry in those moments, or we can, you know, during the days or whatever, watch sad movies or actually like face the grief. It's very easy to keep suppressing it because it's uncomfortable. It's really uncomfortable, right? So if we are suppressing the grief in the heart, that makes us angry because we're pushing it down and we're angry and frustrated, right? It's like, and we kind of can be projecting a lot of stuff onto them, or they did this, kind of like we're suppressing the grief because we're hurt. So we push it down, it goes into the solar plexus. We're angry because number one, and angry and probably tired because it takes a lot to hold that grief down. If we look at it on a physical level, our liver is the size of like a football. It's the second largest organ in our body, right? That's huge. Like number one and number two. So number one is our skin. The next biggest organ is our solar plexus. Like that's massive, right? I mean, is our liver at the solar plexus, and it's the size of a football. It's our filter. If we've never done a liver cleanse, our filter is clogged, right? And some people call it SOL, shit on the liver. It's a an old generational term, I think. And so if someone's really angry, it's like, oh, they've got SOL, like shit on the liver. Like they need to cleanse the liver, right? It's associated with the liver, anger, frustration, all of that. So when we're like projecting, and this is where we can step into victimhood. Now, I hate using these labels, right? But just for explaining, people can feel like a victim and they're like, they did this to me and they did this to me and they did this to me. Now, sometimes we need to step into that space to be able to, that part to be heard and to heal it. The only thing about a victim is that they stay a victim if they're not willing to empower themselves and take their power back, because that's the only thing that will really heal them, all connected to the solar plexus, right? So the throat chakra and the solar plexus are kind of pretty interconnected. I want to say that there's a lot of shadow parts that are stored in the solar plexus, but that's not just you know, like if we look at the victim and the, you know, taking back our power and all of that, like, I mean, there's shadow parts in all of our chakras, of course, but there's a lot in the solar plexus as well, because the only thing that can heal somebody, right, is for them to take back their power. And that's why we start at trust intuition in the solar plexus, right? It's just, of course, based in the solar plexus, because ultimately, if you want to heal, that's the first thing. Like, nobody can heal a person. Nobody can, because that person has to be willing to heal. Nobody can heal a person. Nobody can do the work for them. Nobody can. They will stay in victim mode until they are ready to take back their power and heal themselves and do it all themselves. And sure, we need mentors and learn certain tools and all of that. Like, that's what the world there is for, right? To learn all this, to empower ourselves to be able to take back our power. When a person starts taking back our power, they might feel a lot of grief, because all of a sudden they're healing through solar plexus, and so all that grief is going to be felt. And it's enabling to hold space. Remember, the solar plexus gives the heart power, confidence, trust that it's safe to open again, which in the opening is the crumbling and dissolving of all those hard walls. Yeah? So, okay, at the solar plexus is also a lot of joy. It's a lot of playfulness energy. Yeah, it's a lot of play, and, you know, it's the sun, it's bright, it's like joyful, it's, you know, it's all those pieces. Yeah, the sun lights up our life. Yeah, and the sun is joyful, and it's that play energy, right? So at the solar plexus, if you're also feeling depressed, where is the play? Where you need to create more play. It's very easy to take on all the responsibilities, right? We're taking back our power, so we're taking responsibility for our life, which is divine step number 8 in the 12 divine steps to awakening your life purpose. It's responsibility, right? We're taking all the responsibility back. We're like, okay, cool. I'm like stepping up onto this. I'm stepping up into taking back my power. It's like, okay, cool, it means I gotta sort my shit out. And sometimes we take on all the responsibility. Like, we need to, because maybe we've let that responsibility go, right? And so when we do that, it's finding that balance. It's finding that balance between the play, between the light and the dark, right? It's finding that balance between the play and the joy that brings you alive, to be able to have that power open, if that makes sense. So in a sense of like, if we look at the sun, it's bright, it makes us feel happy, yeah? And so then that's that joy, and that joy that comes in is really allowing the fuel, I want to say the fuel to the fire. It lights everything up, it gives the power. If the sun was unhappy, it doesn't really have much power, does it? So same thing about empowering or disempowering, yeah? Okay, so Amy says, oh my God, yes. I was meant to give my victim impact statement on Thursday and lockdown had it cancelled. I just wanted to take back my power. That's so interesting, right? Yeah, your victim impact statement, and you want to take back your power. It's interesting, right? Because like I said, like we have to own that to be able to like heal it. Like it needs to be heard. You know what I mean? Like I cringe when I see people going, are you just in your victim mode? I'm like, man, that's like the worst thing you can say to someone. Like that's like, you know, saying to someone, you're really overweight, you need to exercise. Like it's like the most harshest thing you can say to someone. It's not going to help them, right? Like it's not. And so that victim, like that part needs to be heard. And this is so interesting, right? Like we're speaking the truth of the victim, needs to be heard, right? Needs to be heard, needs to be seen. And this is why when we look at all the spirituality on the planet and the ear chakras are missing out of the consciousness, nobody's been heard for centuries. Nobody's been heard. And this is why, you know, like when we open up this, all of a sudden, it shifts everything. And as I teach in Trust Intuition, there's all these tools and all these systems and all these things. And I reiterate over and over and over and over and over again. Sometimes you do not need to say a word in session. Sometimes you do not need to do any healing tool, any meditation, nothing. This is actually a lot of the time. Most people heal from being heard, especially if you have a new client, right? So a new client, 99% of the time, you don't need to do anything. You just need to hear them. Now that will shift them all by itself, because society has not been heard for generations. As a child, unless we had super conscious parents, we're usually never heard. The most healing thing is opening. What is this? The ears, the heart, the base. And the ears, the heart, and the base. Open the heart. What's that heart vibration that we spoke about before? The heart heals, right? When we open, we heal. When we hear, we heal. We have to feel safe in our power. We have to feel that we won't be disempowered again. And that comes from feeling safe to open. And a trust in yourself that you're now taking responsibility and empowering yourself, because you've realized at the heart even, nobody's coming to get you. Nobody's coming to save you. Nobody's coming to love you but you. And so we soften into our power and realizing that we're there for us. And we start to become clear about what's not in alignment and what is in alignment, because maybe as we've come down, we've started to understand that these things aren't in alignment. We don't know what to do about them, and maybe the universe does something for us, or we do something about it. And that truthful reflection and the trust in self, the honesty is divine step number 1 to awakening your life purpose. An honest reflection is like, wow, that actually wasn't in alignment. And we can feel lost for a period of time, just going, well, what now? And that lost and confusion and just like, whoa, just stepped out of the friggin' hurricane, like you kind of like just readjusting from that, and then it just sinks into this depression because you're just like, where have I been? And I have no idea what to do now. And you're like realizing all this stuff around, well, that just wasn't in alignment. And how was I thinking that was in alignment, but it was at the time. And it's huge, right? It's huge. Oh, Jade, I think you're signed in as reality awareness. Because I think that's you. Love that you're wearing moonstone colors on Moonstone Day. Oh, I didn't even know. I think I know a lot more than I realize. Intuitively, so connected. That's amazing. Inner child, yes, inner child too. Yeah, inner child and just general shadow parts as well, which are just parts of us that, you know, can be inner child for sure. Leanne says, yeah, I learned that the hard way, taking back your energy. Yes, yes. Joy says, I want to go do Koya on the beach and open up my solar plexus. Yes. If you're in Transcendence Reality Society, you have access to the light field yoga. And so just like there's a crystalline chakra activation, there's a light field yoga sequence, like whole class for each chakra. They're pretty powerful. They're pretty powerful. So yes, you could go and do Koya. As I don't think you're in Transcendence Reality Society. So that's the inner circle, for those of you who don't know. The inner circle of reality awareness, where you get access to everything that I release over all of time for as long as you're in that membership. The light field yoga is in there, which is the light field yoga for the chakras. Yes, Monique says, big time harsh, it just makes it worse. Yeah, it does. It sure does. And just on that too, and this is what I teach a lot in Trust Intuition, a lot of people actually also don't know the right communication language to be able to hold that sort of space. So when you say big time harsh, it just makes it worse. Like sometimes people can have ill intentions with saying those sorts of things, for sure. Sometimes people just don't know how to communicate, and that's what ends up coming out of their mouth. So it's a little bit of a fine line, of course, you know, like depending on what sort of situation you're in a, you know, abusive situation, but some people just do not have the skills, the communication skills to be able to word and voice things that enables to hold that safe space, that open-hearted safe space for the transformation, rather than shutting somebody down. It's a very fine line, and I don't think that those skills are taught in normal psychology. I mean, I wouldn't know, but just from my personal experience, counseling and all of that, it's not. I have countless clients have come to me and said, counseling doesn't work. And I say, I know. And then within like 10 minutes, I've shifted them what has been stuck for like eons, right? Because it's a certain space that we hold as an intuitive healer. There's a certain communication, there's a certain language, there's a certain knowledge and understanding that we have the wisdom of what we've been through, as well as what that entails. So a bit like what I was sharing with the solar plexus and the heart, and having that communication and what that does for you. In Trust Intuition, we go into the depths of being able to understand and hold that space. Plus we've got all this on board of what we've been able to work through that holds that space. So for example, when you said that, like big time harsh, it just makes it worse. Like I've been in counseling situations with a mentor who has shut me down in that way, right? Now, did they really mean it? Maybe they were pissed off at me and like being in my victim, but fuck man, it was the harshest thing ever. And I was like, wow, like I thought you're supposed to like hear all parts of me in this session. Like I didn't say that, but I was just like, I was too in shock. I was like, wow, did you really just say that to me? Like it was like full on. And of course I never went back because I knew what was deeper going on. I was like, man, I can hold space for myself. Like, you know, in a way it was pretty confronting, but this is what a lot of people experience, and they don't have the skills to hold the space for themselves, or they don't understand that what they said was even like harsh, like they don't even have that. And so it just like sends them down further and like, ugh. So yeah, this is like I'm so passionate about this. This is why I'm teaching it in Trust Intuition. This is why we're doing it as a 12-week live training, because it's been recorded in 2016, and I felt so called to do this as a live training. So I'm really excited about this. We start in a couple of hours on Solar Plexus Week. I did not plan that. That was so intuitive. I was like, of course. So Joy says, yes, a lot of people don't want to take time to listen because they don't know how as well. And this comes back to the language and being able to hold space and understanding, you know, like, I don't know if it's a saying or a meme or something, like, you know, there's not many people that can hold space for people who have been through deepest trauma. Like, that is a skill, and I can safely say that I have that skill, and I'm not just floating my own boat, and I'm not being egotistical. Like, I am owning that fact, because I see so many people getting shut down, and you know, and thrown out, and like all sorts of things, and just spiraling down into their trauma further, because they just have like a couple words have shifted, and it takes a certain person to be able to hold space for someone like that to actually shift them as well. But at the same time, someone can only shift them when they're ready to, of course, but it does take things. So when you say a lot of people don't want to take the time to listen, they also don't know how to. They simply don't know how to. So yeah, it's definitely a thing. So Lena says, yeah, in my heart chakra, my ears were hurting the whole time. Ah, interesting, right? I also had my baby on ear chakra for the last time you did it. Oh, of course. Yeah, I remember that. Oh, that's special. So needed to hear that. Yeah, you're so welcome, Amy. So welcome. Yeah, so Leanne says, yes, I was definitely lost thinking, hey, Source, I don't care, so why should I? Yeah, so heart and soul for me, it hurt being an empath and thinking you were alone, but I know I'm not. Yeah, and so just on that too, so you know when we were saying before around that depression and feeling lost, and we've stepped out of, we thought something was in alignment, and all of a sudden it's not in alignment anymore. That can be kind of confronting as well, because it's almost like entire paradigms, entire life paths can be completely, like that whole 180 thing. Where were we talking about that 180? I was just talking about that in a live stream the other day. We're just done like a 180, right? It's like you're not going that way anymore, and you're completely lost, right? So when you said, lost, Source, I don't care, why should I don't know, whatever's, very solar plexus in a sense of, we're stepping into sacral as well. We're unplugged from that reality. We're unplugged, you know, whatever's fallen away or we've walked away out of alignment. We need to find our source. We need to find our source, not theirs. And again, this comes into trust in your purpose and your intuition. If we've unplugged from that belief system, if we've unplugged from that way of being, if we've unplugged from something we thought was right and now it doesn't feel right anymore, there's a period of time where we're like, it's like sinks into depression, and it's like, I don't fucking care, whatever, adrift, I call it. Yeah, adrift. There's a card, what deck is it? It's in like, I think it's the Oracle of the Mermaids card, by Lucy Cavendish, and it's called Adrift, and it's literally like you've just come out of something. Just let the oceans take you, you know, like you're drifting in the current. It's a mermaid deck. You're drifting in the current. Let the current take you. Let God take you. Just let go of the reins for a bit. And so some people scramble in this space. Some people don't feel safe. Sometimes we get to that point where we're like, I don't care, whatever. So we're drifting, but it's a surrender. I like to call it surrender. It's not a forcing. It's not a completely like despair. It's just surrender. It's like adrift. You take me, God, show me what you want me to do. That's very, I want to say, empowering. Not usually feel like it in a minute, but empowering in a sense that you're handing your will over to God. You're saying, I'm trusting you, God, to show me the way. I'm trusting you, my soul, to show me the way. I'm trusting my intuition to show me the way, rather than trying to force it, rather than trying to think we know what we need to do, or, you know, like, you know, all those sorts of things. It's like, because sometimes we've unplugged from a system, a belief system, from a career, from a relationship, when we've totally, you know, let go, right? We have to find what feels right again. And sometimes that can take a bit, because all of this felt right for quite some time, usually, you know, a couple of years, 10 years, longer. And that can take a bit of recalibration, right? So trust that. And that comes back into what I was saying here. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to accept the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Like, That's exactly what this is about. It's like the basis of the solar plexus. Trusting your intuition, trusting yourself enough to walk away from things that are not in alignment anymore, knowing that when you do that, there is a recalibration time, because you're coming into your truth. You're coming into your truth. You know, as you've opened up to these new paradigms at the crown and let the light in, there's all this new energy, there's all these new opportunities, all these new things that you're learning, and you're seeing all different realities, and you're like, wow, all these things, and you're starting to implement them and listen to them and see the multi-dimensional, you know, like pieces of it, and you're starting to like live it and speak it, and you're like, yeah, and then you come into your heart and you're like, yeah, like this feels good, and then you come into solar plexus and you're like, hang on a sec, like, okay, yeah, this feels good, but I don't think this is all me, right? And we're starting to like see these, you know, and it's not that it's bad or it's wrong or you made a wrong choice and it's fucked up. Like, might feel like that for a little bit, right? That's part of the grief process. We go through anger and resentment and all the things. Like, that's part of the change, remember. Grief is part of the change. It's a process in grief itself. Anger, resentment, doubting yourself, wishing it was different. Why did you ever do that? It's part of the healing, okay? So when we come into that, it's not that it was bad and it was wrong. It's that you're starting to find your truth. It's that you're starting to, I want to say, like, pick away the weeds from the beautiful rose bush and uncover the rose bush that is you, or the beautiful flower or whatever, without all the crap around it. And you're finding you, right? And all those pieces that you went through your spiritual awakening and understanding all of that, that for you enabled you to find you. So none of that was wrong. It was just part of your journey. It was part of your path. And now you're empowering yourself with those pieces that feel good, and you're leaving the rest out because you have the confidence and trust in yourself that you're connected to your source. You're connected to your intuition. You're connected and trust yourself enough to be able to follow your path, because you have your heart. You know your truth. You speak it. You hear it. You see the different realities. You're connected to source. And that nourishes you at your sacral chakra. At your sacral chakra, which we're starting to step into from next week, or end of this week. Remember, it's like 3 days either side. We're starting to come into the sacral, and we are nourished. Our soul is the only thing that can nourish us. So if we're eating and eating and eating and eating and eating, or if we're drinking and drinking and drinking and drinking and drinking, or if we're taking drugs and taking drugs and taking drugs, or we're having sex and we're having whatever the addiction is, and we never feel full and we never feel satiated and we never feel enough, it's because our soul is the only thing that can satiate us. Our connection to our soul, our connection to to source, that's what nourishes us. That's what makes us feel full and content. Yeah? Whew, solar plexus energy. All right, so Missy says, need to work on my solar plexus. Recovery from surgery and being ostracized from in-laws. Need to get back into trusting my intuition. I needed to hear this today. I've learned I am number one. Yeah. And that takes time for us to come back to ourselves. Like, do you know what I mean? That's, you know, I want to say at the heart where are releasing the codependent relationships, and at the solar plexus, we're taking back our power from them, of all the times we've put ourselves last. Yeah. Yeah. Awesome, Sylvia. Listening in the car, Tamara. Steve said the hardest thing is taking the time to listen to ourselves sometimes. Yeah, and sometimes that's because, number one, we've never done it. We've never had role models. We don't know how to. Number two, it can be confronting, because what can come up is all the grief when we're starting to finally open and listen to who we are, right? And all the things of like, wow, how come I've not been living myself? How come I never saw this? How come I never felt this? Blah, 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 right? Joy says, yes, so true. I had so many friends walk away when I was going through my awakening last year. I guess they didn't know how to listen and hold space. Yes, exactly. Yes. And I think sometimes too, what we're understanding and coming into is our sharing with people who don't get it. That's part of our journey of learning as well, because I think that I think most people go through that at the start of their spiritual awakening, and they talk to people who don't get it because they're just talking about these things, and you know what I mean? And we're still navigating that as well, coming into like, well, how do we do that? You know, we've got all this new stuff we want to share, but they don't get it. And that's part of our journey as well, of understanding we need to find people who get it that we can talk to, which is a big part of why I took reality awareness online. I'm like, I know there's more of us in the world, and I'm going to find these people. So welcome for being here, and I love that you guys are here because you totally get it. You're like 100% like me. I can't wait till we meet in the world one day. So listen and hold space for sure. And it's also us knowing what to share in that space too, you know. And it's not about hiding our light, but it's about having the discernment of the boundaries, of understanding our energy, their level of consciousness, and that comes with practice. Again, this is deep what we dive into in trust intuition as well. So yeah, it's a big one. The surrender, yeah, I love that too. Love that saying. I have a charm that says that. Yeah, it's a powerful one. It's a powerful one and pretty deep, that God grant me the serenity, for sure. It's very, very deep. Yes, I love this explanation too. You guys are loving it. Yes, 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 yes. Leave all the people in my life because none of them are my people. Yeah, and so sometimes we have to do that. You know, sometimes we have to walk away from everyone we've ever known to be able to come into that deep-centered seat of self. And sometimes those people come back into our life, sometimes they don't. But it's definitely a journey from, you know, walking away from people who are not aligned to be able to find people who are aligned, right? Yes. Just want to run to another country. Yeah, that's a bit tricky. I know that feeling at times, especially, you know, and I find that running, like wanting to run, every time I've got that feeling I want to run or move house, is simply because I'm in a relationship that I want to run from. It's not really the house or the location. I've learned that the hard way. But I'm very clear on that now. If I'm like wanting to move and stuff, I'm like, even if the relationship's fine, soul intuitively is like, no. Right? Yeah. Monique says, yeah, using food to fuel myself even though it doesn't help. Yeah, it's interesting that we do this. And I want to say that can stem from childhood. So as a child, you know, and this is not everyone, but 99% of the population, because again, unless you grew up with very conscious parents practicing aware parenting or conscious parenting or something, a lot of the time we're like, oh, they're hungry, like, and like, you know, feel the food, and like, you know, a baby can be like bawling their eyes out crying and they're getting food shoved down their face, you know, and then over time the baby learns to suppress with food because they keep getting it shoved down their face, you know what I mean? You know, or the like distraction of like, if somebody's keeping busy all the time, an adult busy, or OCD, like as a baby they would be crying, and the mum or whoever was looking after them was like, it's okay, shh, and moving around and pushing them in the pram and driving them around to try and get them to stop crying. Like eventually the baby learns to stop crying, and so they learn to stop crying with movement. And so as an adult we're suppressing our feelings by keeping busy and doing all the things, and the OCD kids are like running around with ADD and getting misdiagnosed because they're just fucking full of feelings. Don't get me started on that. Oh my God. It's big, and these patterns stem from that. It's really big. So yeah, don't get me started. I get fired up about that stuff. Oh my goodness. Okay, so Joy says, can't wait for my cacao ceremony. Yes, beautiful, beautiful. Love it. Yeah, stand higher in your truth for sure. Bucket list, meet Hannah in person one day. Yes, it's definitely happening, guys. The world's gonna change soon. We're gonna be able to do what we want again in a more beautifully connected way. Yes. Yes. Cherry says, oh my God, the food. Yes, and never feeling full. Yeah, it's that satiation, right? I started trying to feel full with food after I gave up smoking 14 years ago. Yeah, honestly, when I quit smoking, well, I was still smoking weed, so I stopped smoking cigarettes. I think when I was 17, 18, because the doctor said I was going to get sick if I didn't, and back then I'd listened to doctors, so, which, you know, you should listen to your doctor unless your intuition says otherwise. is what I say. But, you know, and so that I was grateful because at the time it did make me stop smoking, but I kept taking drugs. And then when I got off drugs in 2006 and I was going to yoga all the time, food became my addiction. So yeah, food and spirituality, they were both on par. So it's definitely a thing to switch from addictions, but I want to say it's also like, they're coping mechanisms, all of them, but it's not that one's better than the other, but ultimately, you know, I think the consciousness of it starts to bring the awareness to heal it, and feeling safe enough to go to the deeper feelings of what we're using it for in the first place. So yeah, safety is a big thing. Safety is a big thing. So Alina says, I notice I just want to shut everyone out. Yeah, and that's another part of it as well, just wanting to disappear. Like, it's almost like putting a wall up, you know. If you can't run away, I'm going to put a wall up instead. So yeah, it's protection mechanism. Alina, yeah, I was doing it with food a few weeks ago, and now I don't even want to eat. Yeah, it's definitely flicks around, that's for sure. Okay. So, okay, and so the biggest thing with connecting to our inner power is to connecting to the correct power source, is to connect to the true power source. Now, we spoke a lot about this at the crown chakra as well, because it's really opening up to plugging into the right source, to connecting to, you know, the correct source rather than connecting to other people. So we're plugging into the right source, and the solar plexus is the same in turning on the correct power, switching on the correct, you know how I said turning on the switch, right, of your light, turn the light on, turn the power source on. And so it's also finding out what that power source for you is. For me, it's yoga and meditation, next then probably surfing and floating, or it's like finding what connects you back to you. Because whilst the correct power source is source, your soul is source. Your soul is connected to source. You are an extension of source. You are source. So when you can do those things that connect to your soul, then those are the things that are going to open you back up, right? Those are the things that are going to make you feel satiated. Yeah. So it's maybe exploring things that make you feel satiated. For example, when I first started yoga, I was like, what the fuck is this? I'm like looking around and the woman's like speaking all this Sanskrit, and I'm like trying to do the pose, wondering if I'm doing it correctly. I'm like looking over at other people. I'm like, what the fuck is she saying? Like, I'm trying to like, I wasn't speaking, but I was like looking at other people going like, what is she saying? I'm trying to like understand her and like all this stuff. Like, you have to remember, when you first try something, it can feel weird. It's a bit like learning to drive a car. In the first, you're like, oh my God, what's all these things I don't know? And everyone knows cars driving. Like, and you're like feeling overwhelmed, right? Or you're just trying to learn it. You have to remember that going to a yoga class or going to anything new, when you're trying out new things to find your source or whatever, maybe you already know what they are for you. It can take a little bit to get into it, because even when you drive a car now, you probably don't even think about it, right? So finding what works for you might take a little bit to get used to something. It's the same with meditating. So, you know, I could never meditate. Yoga taught me to meditate, you know, but now when I meditate on a regular basis, I can drop into deep meditation really quickly because I've trained myself that way, because I do it frequently. If I don't do it frequently, it takes me longer to get into that state. Okay, so you have to remember that. But the piece about that is finding what connects you to your power source. Find what connects you to your spiritualities, to source, right? And how to say it any other way than that. Connect to your power and do more of that, because that's going to strengthen your confidence, strengthen your intuition, strengthen you, because source is everything. And by the way, source enables you to feel abundant as well. And if you're not connected to source, you're not going to feel abundant. Yeah. Yes, water and the flow of yoga. Yes, me too. Yes, that one. All right, let me just see if there's anything else that wants to come through or remind about that. Okay, so, all right, I'm going to read this bit. So the solar plexus, this is like a meaning from Wikipedia. It says, empowerment refers to measures designed to increase the degree of autonomy autonomy, is that how you pronounce it? And self-determination in people and in communities in order to enable them to represent their interests in a responsible and self-determined way, acting on their own authority. This is interesting, right? Empowerment refers to both the process of self-empowerment and to professional support of people, which enables them to overcome their sense of powerlessness and lack of influence and to recognize and eventually use their resources and chances. The term empowerment is also used for an accomplished state of self-responsibility and self-determination. So, and it's interesting, right? When we look at empowerment and what's happening in the world these days, this is from Wikipedia, and I did take that off Wikipedia several years ago. This is printed out in a book. And it's, yeah, so I don't know with all the changes behind the scenes, if that same meaning will come up with what we've learned. Anyway, this is what it said back then. But it's interesting. Empowerment refers to measures designed to increase the degrees of autonomy and self-determination in people and in communities in order them to enable to represent their interests in a responsible and self-determined way, acting on their own authority. Now, that is interesting in a sense of like, at the moment, they're taking people's power away. And it's interesting when we look at the deeper meaning of empowerment, and that is a solar plexus picture and a deeply connected into life purpose, as I was saying earlier in this live stream, that solar plexus energy enables us to have the confidence to birth our unique purpose to a system that is not yet on the planet. So you can see that over the years, maybe it became too much for the people in charge, realizing the level of empowerment that people are actually stepping into and creating in the world, right? And they're like, And so they're trying to disempower us, so they shut down all those systems. So they're shutting down our purpose, our unique purpose. Imagine, and I always said this, and I was showing this in, it would have been like 2012 or something, 2012, 2013, that I was getting on a bus back then, and I was showing, I was told the word, what's the word? It's the symbiosis. Is that what it is? The symbiosis. Hang on. Symbiosis. Symbiosis. I think that's the word. I don't know if that's the right one I'm thinking of. I don't know if it's symbiosis. Anyway, it was something like that. I think it is. The specific kind of symbiosis depends on whether either or both organisms benefit from the relationship. It's any relationship or interaction between two dissimilar organisms. So it's like any, the symbiotic nature. Our life purpose has a symbiotic nature with everything and everyone on the planet. Because if we're all living in our unique life purpose, everything is in a symbiotic nature. Everything just connects. Everything just works. And when everyone talks about that new earth and that beautiful, heart-centered community, and let's all get back to that, like ultimately what that is everyone living in their unique life purpose. There's no competition. There's no, like, everyone just flows in and everyone's purpose. It's like a big jigsaw puzzle, and everyone's purpose connects and has a system and a place in this world, right? And it just works. It's like the trees and the rivers and the flowers and all of that, they just work together, right? In this symbiotic nature. And so empowerment gives us that sense of trust in our life purpose. And at the moment, and especially at the moment on the planet, even for eons, putting us in school and all those sorts of things were to suppress that. But that's not our true nature, right? And it's like working through the traumas, the hurts, the pains, all those things that are keeping you blocked, stuck, and not trusting yourself to be able to birth that unique life purpose of you. Yeah. So it's definitely about giving us the confidence to birth our purpose, giving us the confidence to trust ourselves, to satiate ourselves, to be able to feel full and nourished by ourselves. So we have that trust in being able to bring those systems that are unique to our life purpose to Earth. Yeah. So I think that's solar plexus for today. Just checking if there's anything else, and is there anything else that wants to come through. So the mini ebook for the solar plexus chakra consciousness, you can find the link in this live stream title. I'll also put it in the comments here as well. The crystalline chakra activations are there as well if you haven't got them already. And I just felt like there was something else that wanted to come through for the solar plexus chakra consciousness. I'm not quite sure. I'm like, there's something else. Anyway, I'll put this in. Empowerment, self-confidence, trust in self, and backing yourself. Yeah. Trusting yourself comes into backing yourself. When you make a decision, back yourself the whole way. It's normal that when we make a decision, we doubt whether we've done the right thing. That's normal. Definitely normal. But we trust ourselves enough and we back ourselves even through the doubt because we know that we wouldn't have made it if it didn't feel right. The heart again. The heart feeling, trusting ourselves to follow through. The heart, the solar plexus supporting the heart's feelings. Yeah? We feel supported back. We feel supported if we trust ourselves and we take the action on what our heart is feeling. Yeah. Trusting your intuition, heart. Yeah. Story of your life. Yeah. It takes practice. Discipline, practice. Discipline is divine step number 6 in the 12 divine steps to awakening your life purpose. You have to discipline and trust yourself to be able to birth your purpose, to follow your intuition, right? To do that. And that is a very unique skill set. And that's what we teach in Trust Intuition. So if you want to join us for Trust Intuition over this next 12 weeks, I do not know at this point if I will be running it live every year. This is the first time that I've run it live. It was first birthed in 2016. I'm really excited to bring this live because the things that channel through on live, oh my goodness. So I'll pop the link in as well for Trust Intuition, or if you've got questions about it, please send me a message. We do start in an hour and a half from now. And even if you're watching the replay of this, you can always still jump in and join us. The replays will be there, of course, definitely. And we're only on the first week, so you can definitely still jump in and join us. So let me pop this in. All right. I shall love you guys. Keep trusting yourself, knowing that all parts of you are important and that all parts of you, with all the things that they need to say, are important. You are important. And I shall see you very soon. Yeah, in an hour and a half, Lena. We're just starting in just under an hour and a half. So I shall see you there. Well, bye.